welcome back to Block TV, where it is time for Pump or Dump. That's when we look at the dominant news narratives of the week and see if we agree or disagree with the agenda, whether we pump it or, yes, indeed, dump it in favor of another. And to do that, I am joined by none other than Block TV's cracking team of investigative reporters, starting with Yona Hochhauser. Yes, the man with the black hat and the crime and the whatnot. Right after that, of course, we have none other than the boy who is the joy, who is Zachy Hennessy. Thank you. Look like the Madonna. That's creepy. Thank God for the other woman in the studio, Whitney Deal, Regulation Mama, so I won't feel all alone among so many boys. And of course, we can't do this without Asha Westrup Evans, senior correspondent for Block TV News. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, lady and gentlemen. Let's start this with round one, and we're beginning with, I think, the same order, or maybe not. Maybe we're beginning actually with Asher. Yes, there we go. Okay, starting with you, round one, Istanbul hard fork versus Ethereum news. I already think I tend to agree. Asher, your minute starts now.
Okay, so the Istanbul hard fork has come live. It's real. The precursor to phase 0 of Ethereum 2.0 is live, and as many words as I said just there makes it less and less and less interesting. So we're not going to talk about it. Nothing really happened. It's going about its business on a long process.
We've been hearing about it for years.
Yeah, and it's going to continue. We're going to continue to hear about it for years. So dump it. It's not news. What is news, however, is the fascinating workings that have been going on inside the Ethereum Foundation, which has now, according to some reports, begun ceasing funding for certain Ethereum developer projects. Nina Bresnik, the developer of a small Ethereum team, just a 3-person team, claimed that her funding was cut December 1st, and other teams are losing funding as well. The Ethereum Foundation has come back saying that's not true, but the he said, she said is heating up and causing further dramas in the Ethereum Foundation. Now, what is interesting, what we can put a candle on, is that the Ethereum Foundation is now running into its own, dipping into its own Ethereum pockets. They used to have 608,000 Ether, they now have 597,000. They're spending money. Are they out of fiat? We just don't know.
Nice. That was right on the money. First of all, chime in, folks. What do you think?
The Istanbul hard fork, not very interesting. I'm much more interested in the Constantinople hard fork. Unfortunately, I've been informed that is no longer going to happen.
No, it already happened.
Yeah.
You missed it. That was the whole joke. You just said the joke that is like
exactly
how they named it. It was Constantinople.
I'm a professional crypto journalist.
You're an investigative journalist, exactly. And by the way, that guy from Wham dead.
Not the guy from Wham.
Okay.
Oh no!
I think that was it last week. But Yona, please do chime in.
Yeah, I think we're sick and tired of hearing of the Istanbul hard fork, but I mean, it's still. I mean, it could have major changes. Let's say there is a bug. Let's say the whole thing crashes.
Yeah.
I mean, that will have effect. But you are right. If there is drama down at Ethereum Foundation headquarters, that could really affect not only this hard fork, but more hard forks in the future. So yeah, I think that you are right. That we do have to take a look at the bigger picture that could really have rippling effects down the road.
I mean, particularly the fact I find that they're spending their own pool of Ether, the Foundation's own Ether pool, dipping into that, does imply that their fiat could be running out. There could be some money troubles.
I was about to say, the headline of this
there.
is Ethereum running out of money.
Right.
Ouch.
They just believe in Ether so hard that they are just super confident about spending it.
That is a narrative. That is a narrative.
That is a narrative, but definitely I think I would go with Asha's narrative to be investigated. We're not stating anything, but still, that's one of the biggest players in the sphere. Okay, Asher, I win this one. And of course, thank you. And of course, we're moving to you, Whitney. Regulation Mama with Mnuchin fine with Libra versus minor bankruptcy. And your minute begins now.
So the chin, as I like to call it.
The chin, very good. Yes.
He, in a press conference last week, he said that he has no problem with Libra, that as long as they, comply with AML, he's fine with it, but the Fed also sees no indication within the next 5 years that they're going to come up with their own digital currency for the US dollar. It's the same thing as always. What's more interesting is the fact that there is a Canadian Bitcoin mining company called Great North Data that's filed for bankruptcy, and it's left behind millions in debt to taxpayers because it obtained funds from several federal and local government agencies. The company listed 13.2 million Canadian dollars in liabilities against 4.6 million in assets. And they owe a lot of entities money, including Newfoundland and Labrador Government's Business Investment Corporation for over $300,000, $420,000 to provincial authorities, and Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency over $500,000.
Okay, please do chime in.
You've left her speechless.
Yes, yes. And you're like,
For the
"Geez,
first time in history,
ow."
Elle is without speech.
I'm
That never
100%
happens.
with you. Minuchin, more like my old chin. I'd much rather talk about this very bad thing that happened to these taxpayers. That's much more, you know.
For credibility and faith in our brand, we turn to Zach.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
I mean, it's interesting though to know that these governments are actually quote unquote investing in crypto in mining projects through not necessarily through money investments, but either to tax subsidies and the sort. We see this a lot in Texas, where Texas is really trying to become a hub for crypto mining, and they're also doing that through tax subsidies. So I mean, it actually, while this is sad for taxpayers and it kind of shows the ugly side when it doesn't work out, it does show that governments are starting to believe more in crypto, and we do hope that it works out better than this project. With this is the sad part, but
And I want to agree with Yona there because as the old adage goes, 99% of startups do fail. That's the sort of the factor of the whole world, whether it be crypto or otherwise. This is obviously a pretty large scale one and pretty unfortunate that it doesn't shine well in the sphere and further subsidies into the future. But I will agree with Yona. It's nice to see this funding is taking place, even if this is how we're learning about it.
Mm-hmm.
I have something to say. I agree very much. We should learn more about it. I also think that Mnuchin saying that they're fine with Libra very much contradicts the statement less than 6 months ago in July, where Mnuchin said, and I quote, he's expressed very serious concerns about the Libra project proposed by the social network giant and called it a national security issue. What happened, folks?
I don't know. Maybe he's into
months?
that now.
yeah, maybe
he just.
Maybe
But I want to find out what happened in those 6 months.
Maybe he's got a penchant for danger.
Yeah, either Zuckerberg, maybe Zuckerberg put some that sweet
Maybe we
basic
just
money
need to investigate
in his
it.
pocket.
Maybe that could be a story to be investigated. In short, everybody wins. Okay, moving along to Zaki.
Yeah.
Okay, because I always love it when the government changes its mind so quickly. Moving to Zaki, right? Yes, with Griffith versus, that's not a fair fight, versus Ulbricht, and I pronounce it like a German. Then there you go, your minute begins now.
Okay, we got to dump Virgil Griffith because, God bless him or whatever, but he's overplayed. We understand the entire situation. There's basically universal agreement that what he did was kind of dumb, and I'm going to show a clip at the end of this to prove that. And there's not going to be any development for another little bit until his trial. Instead, we should be talking about Ross Ulbricht, who is the founder of Silk Road, got put in the slammer for 40 years and life, plus life.
Plus 40 years, yeah.
So, it's much more compelling story. There are more compelling arguments on both sides of whether or not he should be let out. He is currently wasting away in a cell. So, the onus is you got to be snappy with these things and make up your mind about him and act accordingly. Sign his petition, don't sign his petition. Who knows? But let's stop talking about Virgil Griffith because here's why. Roll clip.
Knowing what I know about Virgil and what he was trying to do, it doesn't seem to me that there's a really solid amount of evidence that he broke the law. And the bigger question is whether it's morally right to be, giving these kind of technologies to people.
Is this the whole point of blockchain, permissionlessness, and anyone can use it? Or are there some red lines that we don't want this technology to be used by others?
But I think what Virgil did was a kind of a step across that line that we would almost all agree with is a really fucking stupid decision.
First of all, I love the Virgil montage.
Yeah.
I have to say, that's kick-ass. Before you could, do you guys go first?
Okay,
please.
so I have a little bit of a logical flaw with your whole argumentation there.
Thank you.
You don't want to talk about Virgil Griffith because there's a delay in things happening. You want to talk about a case where there's no action happening anywhere for the next possibly 40-odd years. That'll be Ross Ulbricht. I'm very interested in this story, but in terms of pumping it as the current news headline of the day.
This is what's hip and happening, man.
That being
I tell
said,
ya.
Tim Draper did recently mention
Thank
him.
you. I was waiting for you. Tim
which
Draper just
you
mentioned
didn't
him
mention
2 days ago.
So that gives it some relevance, but I don't
How
think
did you
just
miss that?
a
Yes.
billionaire speaks, we don't have to jump up and down.
He's the only one speaking for this kid
Yeah.
right now.
Did
Him and Zaki.
Yeah.
Did Draper speak on it because of the whole Virgil and then it brought up
I
the
really,
totally
thank you.
so.
That's a great point because I do think that maybe Ulbricht got to the place that he got to because people did what you're suggesting we do to Virgil now, and that is dump him.
That's not. Listen, I'm not saying dump him. I'm saying dump him for now.
I mean, maybe
until
the
his fucking
community
trial
needs-
happens. Because, like, you know, what are we going to talk about until then? Was it right or wrong? And we already did that.
No,
So-
that's not how it's. Yeah.
So I'm
going
going
to
to put you in a nice,
It's
I'm
just
gonna put you
an
in a nice
update
little
leading up to the
corner
way.
and just ask, what are we going to talk about with the Ulbricht case?
Yes.
What's the
Was it
current?
right or wrong?
Okay, just checking.
Yes.
I understand now. You've clarified your statement.
But
Very good.
listen, all right, you know what? We've done it. Buzz me out, Dad. I'm done.
In short, I'm sorry. Zaki loses this one.
No!
I'll win. And we move to Yona, please. You see how one can crash. and
Yeah,
burn.
I'm really scared. You guys have a tough crowd over here. No easy ball.
No, seriously, no pressure here. Yona Sherman versus the gatekeeper? Or
No,
Sherman
I'm just
Sherman the gatekeeper.
Yeah, so pretty much I'm essentially dumping.
Wait your minute. Rules. Your minute begins now.
Yeah, I'm pretty essentially dumping everything and just bumping the Sherman the gatekeeper. So we're talking, about Mnuchin's take on Libra. We're talking about, and we will be talking a lot this week about Telegram versus SEC. There's all these different things. Laufer becoming governor. We got a crypto friend in Congress. Well, something that we haven't really spoken about, or the Senate, sorry, we haven't really spoken about, is that United States Congressman Brad Sherman, a famous crypto hater, some might say. He's been elected to serve as the chairman for the subcommittee on investor protection and entrepreneurship in capital markets. Now, why is that interesting? Because that subcommittee oversees the SEC, the New York Stock Exchange, and the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. Essentially, huge news that we had, this is B number one, this huge anti-crypto guy is now at the lever. He's the gatekeeper controlling whether crypto regulation happens, whether SEC approvals happen. This is huge news, and this should be the top of the headline.
Yeah. Well said.
Did I pass?
Yeah.
Did I pass your muster?
Yeah.
That's an amen. I pump it all the way.
Yeah.
All the way to the
No,
bank,
Sherman
baby.
is now, and we're in short, I think the headline should be, we're so screwed.
Yeah, I think,
There's always another election coming. There's always another.
I will say this: he is a joy to watch at those crypto hearings. Any of the Senate hearings, he brings the fire. He's a joy to watch. I just like him on the opposition.
9/11 on
That's the
cryptos?
man.
That's the same
He's
guy,
actually-
right?
he's
Sherman,
entertainment.
right? Okay.
He's entertainment. I just don't like that now he's in charge. I liked him. He was fun when he was merely a clown that would entertain me. But now that he's making the
This
decisions,
is
he's in charge.
screaming
it's a difference.
2016 elections. To
But
me.
I will.
Yeah.
But I will say given the lack of meaningful legislation in any form passing through Congress at the moment, maybe it doesn't matter who's in charge of these committees because the legislation ain't going nowhere.
We made a big hubbub about Kelly, a former
Well,
back
yeah.
CEO becoming, getting in the meantime governor seat till elections. This guy just got he's in charge of the real.
Sherman is essentially the nega Loeffler.
Yes,
Yeah, but-
he is the negative of Loeffler.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Including in hair.
No,
Yeah, that's
Especially-
true.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
she has
Okay.
great
No,
hair.
no,
She has
no,
great
no,
hair.
no,
Great
fine.
hair,
Okay,
yeah.
That's a
Great
crypto
hair.
hater, but no need to go so low. Thank you, Yona. I think you brought it home, and Whitney wins this. Thank you. And we're moving to the second round, of course, starting back with Oshawa Strip Evans and burying and killing Litecoin versus the Ripple class action lawsuit story. And your minute begins now.
Okay, so the story with Litecoin, it has plummeted around 68% since its June peak, 43% since its halving. It recently lost 70% of its hash rate. The network is looking pretty dire at the moment, in deep trouble. But I don't think it's really that worth talking about until there's a meaningful development in the Litecoin space. There's a lot of trends happening in the shorter term. I think you need to wait for longer term trends to play out. Rather, I want to focus in on the class action that's taking place against XRP parent company Ripple, which is currently facing a class action related to its initial coin offering. It claims, which is very interesting, nothing against whether or not they did an unregulated security sale. They simply state that the statute of repose, that is to say the time limit in which it was required to file this lawsuit, was too long, and that the plaintiffs likely didn't actually buy anything from them. And they say, and I quote, XRP is not a security, but that is irrelevant for the purpose of this motion. Even if XRP were a security, plaintiffs' claims still fail as a matter of law.
Ooh. Okay, yes.
You're
Zaki,
consistently ending one word after the line, and I wanted to point that out to the judge. I just wanted to make sure that
There, you know what?
he does
I
wait
went on
for
your
the-
hard in the
I just
last
want to say,
round.
you don't know this, but everything is registered, and we have taken that into account.
All right, very
Yes,
well, as
okay,
long as that's
please.
understood.
Okay, other than that.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting defense by XRP.
Right.
I mean,
They've just okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because it actually hurts. It kind of makes it seem like if they really, really believed they had a strong case with it not having security, that would be their defense. But like they're like, listen, it's not a security, but really, you guys messed up here. This whole thing shouldn't even count. I mean, listen, I'm sure they have smart lawyers and they decided that this is their current best defense. But in my eyes, it doesn't actually bode well against their ability to, in the future, even if they do throw out this current case because of this technicality, it doesn't bode well in my eyes for their defense that's not security when the prosecutors actually do get their act together and file it correctly.
Right.
If it's not a securities, what were they saying it was?
Yeah.
It's not a security. I mean, the whole point at this stage is a prover of what it not is. You know, as is the current state in the U.S. right now, there's a lot of up in the air around what it is, what certain coins are and aren't. But if you get proven to be a security and having done an unregulated security sale, then you're in a lot of you're up a certain creek. You don't have a paddle. You know.
And also for future legislation, actually, if they now come out and claim that they're not a security, what will happen in the future if there is some legislation?
What state was the lawsuit filed in? Do you know?
You put me on the spot, and I don't have the answer to that question. You put me on the spot. I was so caught up in the details of the filing itself. I got to check the state.
That's fine.
I'm but a humble Australian.
No, but I'm curious about like state laws and what this the implications that this could have for future going state by state.
Entirely, but I think she did prove one case is that should be the story that we should be pumping.
It's usually these things are usually the New York southern district, but this was California.
California.
Really?
California.
Northern District of California.
Really?
Okay.
California. Get their act together. Look at that.
All right.
There you go. Fine. You all win this one. We're moving along to you, Whitney, with Littman SCC. I've noted what this is versus Brazil taxes. And your minute begins now.
Yes. Okay. So Christina Littman, she's been named head of the cyber division of the SEC. Not that this is like a dump per se, because I'm all for like boss ladies. She's got power. She's in the sphere. She's highly educated. Great.
Is it more than an anecdote, though?
It's just not as interesting as Brazil finding taxpayers who failed to declare Bitcoin and crypto holdings. This whole crypto tax is, really taking hold everywhere. It's not just the U.S. and the U.K. and other world leaders. It's going worldwide. And with Brazil, those who fail to file will be subject to penalties ranging from $120 to $360. Not much in U.S. currency, but still significant for them.
Very much for people who live, a lot for people who live in
Exactly.
Brazil.
But however, could this crackdown be a life-saving measure for the tax authority because they're running out of money? Is reported a bit back to that.
You cannot believe in cryptos until you can tax them. My God. Okay, there's no fairies until I can rip their wings off is a famous line. But please, folks.
Yeah, I have an issue with this, and I'll tell you why. I don't mind governments. I don't like high taxes, but I'm not against governments taxing things if it's reasonable, because they do have to pay for armies and protection and different services.
Roads, hospitals,
schools. Well, my mind's on that. That's obvious. Anyway, my issue is that this kind of feels like the pulling people over to in parking tickets, which is where too many times cops, especially in different districts in America, where they pull people over towards the end of the month because they use it as a piggy bank, where they're not pulling people over to make it safer. They're not doing these things for the good of the people. They're using it as a personal piggy bank. And that's what it feels like here, where when did they decide to start attacking the crypto holders and jump down their throats? Oh, we see our coffers are running low. We need to raise money. Let's get the crypto.
Can I suggest a flip side of that? I see this as an absolute win, because whether or not
if you're going to tax us, you're going to regulate.
Exactly. If you're going to tax us, you're going to regulate us. Unfortunate that this could potentially be, if that is indeed the case, the circumstance in which this occurs, and it wasn't a more proactive element. It's more reactive. But at the end of the day, if crypto is getting legitimized through one form or another, I consider this to be a potentially good thing, and technically, let's be fair, these people are under Brazilian law not adhering to proper regulation, and now it's being enforced.
But in this case with Brazil, if the tax authority does shutter, it means that the crypto exchanges will simultaneously be legally compelled but unable to comply with data reporting requirements.
So maybe they'll be forced to create new legislation.
Exactly. Maybe they're going to have to do that then.
But then it just goes against everything that the whole premise of crypto, the whole taxes and
Yeah, but crypto. There we go to
anonymity.
the. I agree, but we go to the age-old question of if you really want to become mainstream, you can't break all the rules. Pardon me.
Whatever happened to no taxation without representation? Ever since.
I assume they're being represented by
I
Brazilians.
did.
No, you never ever. Well, we all know the famous Brazilian legislator who loved crypto and unfortunately was taken out of his role. But ever since then, that seat has not been filled, and so there's simply no taxation without representation.
We got to get Yona Hockhauser in that seat in Brazil.
I might run through.
Send him to
would be
Brazil,
how we conclude
folks.
this topic. Yona Hochhauser will fly to Brazil.
To run for office.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Moving along. Ka-ching. But we're going to Zaki, the boy that is a joy from Georgia, with the woman, the hair, the legend.
Also from Georgia.
Also from Georgia. And you are just wanting to pump Loeffler, right?
That's right.
Okay, and your
Absolutely
minute
correct.
begins now.
Listen, I may or may not agree with all this lady's political choices. However, this is the crypto foot in the door that we potentially need, as long as she doesn't get shut down by Sherman, as we discussed. She may have some very conservative values, but you can't win them all, question mark. Now, here's the info.
No, you cannot.
First of
Trust
all,
me.
it's worth noting that she is, it's just a cool fact. There's a lot of information about this
Please
lady
go.
that has not come to light. First and foremost, that she is the owner of a WNBA team called the Atlanta Dream. Now, this is the kind of folks, and also the CEO of BACT or whatever,
Yeah, that too.
this is the kind of
Don't forget who she's married to.
forward-thinking, power personality that we need in the Senate representing the crypto folks. And to talk a little bit more about that, I prepared this amazing clip.
Please.
Please join me in welcoming our next U.S. Senator, Kelly Loeffler.
This week, Kelly Loeffler, the CEO of Bitcoin futures exchange BACT, has been appointed a Senate seat in the state of Georgia. She is set to begin her residency on January 1st, replacing Johnny Isaacson, who has announced his resignation from Senate due to his deteriorating health. Loeffler will serve until the special election in November 2020, when she will be eligible for re-election. Kelly, a moderate Republican, was chosen in spite of President Trump and his supporters' insistence on someone more conservative for the position.
First of all, can I just say, this is, and I will state this over and over again, she has rich woman hair.
It's
You maintain that only with money, with a lot of
It's
money.
lovely.
But she does have a lot of money, people, and she comes from the corporate world. What do we think?
Yeah, does Trump? Well, Trump was actually against. Is Trump against her because he doesn't like crypto? What was his reasoning
So
for?
he wanted someone who's even more to the right ski than she is. You know, so it was
Especially in Georgia.
especially in Georgia. You need someone who's just really.
I don't think crypto had anything to do with it.
No,
It's
nobody
just,
gives a shit.
Yeah,
She managed
that's
to
the one thing
sneak
we
in
always
under the
find
radar.
out, and it's hard to
And that's a
admit.
key point here. We keep talking about her
Thank
as a
you.
potential crypto ally and a
Or
friend of the
is
sphere.
she?
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously CEO of BACT, but she hasn't come out and mentioned crypto in any of her initial speeches and any of the early sort of the things that have come out around this. This may be a non-issue for her as far as her political life is concerned and for the foreseeable future. That being said, should the situation change in the US, should this come up as an issue, obviously having a potential ally, a sleeper cell in place, as it were.
The sleeper cell.
Could
A
be
lot of people are
useful.
saying she didn't mention cryptocurrency in her introductory remarks on account of she didn't want to scare nobody off. But the thing is, even if she said like, yeah, blockchain's cool, I don't think anybody would have given a shit because it was like an hour-long introductory thing anyways.
Well, you got to speak to the wider
Like, I don't think she's going to
constituents.
say, yeah, and I love crypto. I don't think everybody's going to be like, whoa, guys, we might have made a mistake here. It's like,
I know, but the question is, she does have a year, and this is Georgia, and you're from Georgia, so I want to ask you.
Yeah.
You know, a woman heading that, you know, in that seat, running for re-election, having 1 year to do it. Do we really think she's
Here's
going to
the
use
thing,
crypto,
Yael.
funny money, in the mind of a major base of the American, you know, right wing? Is she going to use that in any way, shape, or form?
I'll say this. As difficult as I'm answering,
I'll actually bet you
I'm
money
answering
she's
one of
not
your
going to
points
raise
first.
it in her year.
As you keep mentioning that she is a woman. Now, it is difficult for a woman in politics, period. But not more so in Georgia. This ain't Alabama, okay? It's not about Georgia. Very progressive state as far as the Southern Bible Belt goes.
Okay.
All right, have you seen Donald Glover's amazing hit show, Atlanta?
Great show, highly recommend it.
Okay, I'm losing the crowd here, but still.
Whatever. Point being, she's going to do fine, I reckon.
You think?
I reckon.
And the Atlanta Dream also apparently doing fine.
Clearly, she didn't mention them as well. I think
No,
that
she didn't mention the Atlanta Dream.
exactly. That's one can argue that.
All
too.
the WNBA people, the WNBA
are all
news
sitting. Is she
channels
going
are
to
all
take
like,
our
"Ooh,
cause
she's our
all the
sleeper
way?
cell."
Please. Now, folks. I think time will tell, but I'm happy to bet money on it. Zaki, I'll give you this round.
Yeah.
Moving along to Mr. Hochhauser, our last bit of this shindig. Well, your topics for the last. For the second round are, because my script is stuck. What is your topic?
Up-it hack versus up-it hacks.
Ooh, nice. Your minute begins now.
Yeah, let me paint a scenario for you guys. Let's say someone took amazing source material, like a great book series, and they were in charge of making it a TV series. And once they passed the source material, they totally butchered it and turned one of the most beloved shows of all time into a total failure that everyone hated.
Walking Dead syndrome?
No, I'm not going to say names. But then, would then another platform then give them a bunch of money and trust them with creative control?
It has happened.
It has happened.
Has happened in
Game
the
of Thrones,
past, yes.
Netflix.
Several times.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. So a similar situation happened with the Upbit exchange. It's the South Korean exchange that was hacked pretty much last week or 2 weeks ago at this point. To the tune of 342,000 Ethereum. And then what they do, they then last week, launched their own custody service for crypto. Why would you trust someone with your crypto who just got hacked for a massive amount of crypto?
Reverse psychology. Go ahead.
Hold on.
Yeah, I don't.
Sometimes, backwards as the logic is, the best time, for example, to visit a country is immediately after some sort of calamity has occurred there. Security, likely to be tight.
Lots of folks visiting Pompeii immediately after.
Yeah.
I want to say that people who visited Haiti in 2010.
No, all right. I don't want to get too specific with the calamities I'm talking about. I don't want to get too specific with the calamities I'm talking about, but ones that aren't infrastructure destroying. Similarly, the Upbit is probably likely to be very aware of security concerns, much like Binance was in the wake of their hack earlier this year. Deeply aware of security, doubling down, logging onto Binance now is now a serious affair.
That would be the line that I would push if I were them. Look, this just happened to us. We know how terrible this is.
And we know how to deal with it.
Exactly.
We patched that
just
hole.
clamped down on everything.
Would you put your crypto right now in their custody service?
I'm not South Korean.
Let's say you had the
I don't
opportunity.
have
I'm saying put your money where your mouth is. Would you put your money in their? Or would you trust a more reputable one that has history?
I wouldn't trust them any less than I would Binance or any other particular major crypto exchange.
Mm-hmm.
No, I would feel. I mean, even the fact that they paid back the people who were hacked.
They claimed they would.
If you want to keep your crypto safe, I am actually considering starting my own exchange, and you can just send me your crypto and I'll exchange it.
Yeah, I'm sold on that one. Sure, that'll go fabulously.
Good job.
But yeah, weren't you the man that would coin the phrase "not your keys, not your crypto"?
Which is exactly my point. The Upbit hacks with an S is actually the hacks who store their crypto on an exchange. I personally, the man with
And we
the
take
black
it back,
hat.
Yona Hochhauser with that vaudeville
Thank you,
pun
Zach.
has just won that entire panel. Thank you. And he's going to be running for office in Brazil. I'm just saying. Lady and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for this rendition of Pump and Dump. This was fabulous. We were BLOCKTV. It's Sunday. We'll be right back. I need more coffee.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.